right. Hello, everyone. First, I want to introduce a guest I have here today. This is Kelly Clark, and Kelly and I go way back in terms of our career at Walmart. I met Kelly probably 1995. I've been with the company a couple years. I had been an intern in Mexico. I'd worked in a store here in Bentonville, and I got transferred to Kelly's store as a management intern back in 95. So, Kelly, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And it's good to have you because, well, I guess you're somewhat the reason I'm here because you trained me how to run a Walmart store back in the 90s.
I wouldn't say that.
Right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah.
But all good. But
Good times.
yeah, really good times. So you're now in Fort Smith.
Yes, sir.
Store 125 and been there how
About
long?
17 years.
17 years. Same store.
Yes, yeah. I was at Springdale 15 before that, and then prior to that, several stores.
So how long total have you been with the company?
40 years.
40 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a long time.
Long time.
Long time. But you actually started in grocery, if I remember right. You were in a food store, right?
Yeah. It's kind of a funny story. Back then, I started in a company called the Phillips Company, and Harlan and Sam were friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sam wanted to get into the grocery business, so he ended up buying the Phillips Company from Harlan Phillips, and I was one of the first store managers, or I guess I was the first store manager to move over to the Walmart side.
What was it like running a store that Sam would come into before he owned it? What did he do? What did he talk about? What did you learn from him?
I can remember when I ran Fiesta Square in Fayetteville, there was actually a Food for Less and a Walmart on the same parking lot in Fayetteville. And so Sam would come in, and I checked a lot back then. So I'd be checking, and he would be in the back sacking, and he would ask customers, because this is before we had Supercenters, he would ask customers if, they'd prefer to save a little money and carry their own stuff out, or if they would prefer for them to sack it. So he would naturally sack it because that's just the way Sam was, and carry it out. But he'd ask them, he'd talk to them all the way through sacking it, and as he was walking out and taking it to their car. And it was just kind of cool to see how he tried to really, truly understand what the customer wanted.
Really curious, asked a lot of questions.
Yeah, I just tried to figure out exactly what would go over the best. He knew he wanted to add grocery to complement the GM side of the business. Mainly, I think, the conversations he had with me was to try to cause that customer to come shop you more frequent.
Right.
Sam was a great retailer, so he knew that if you had to come in and buy milk and bread and stuff, that you'd have to come a lot more frequent.
Well, the curiosity that led us to food is a pretty good decision.
We've got obviously.
Pretty good food business around the world, and particularly here in the U.S. There was a story I remember you telling me about, and it had to do with Sam and his hobby, quail hunting.
Oh, yeah.
You mind to tell that one really quickly?
So this is something that, as a store manager, you're wondering if you can survive a thing like this. So
But you did.
Yeah, I did.
You did.
So we had some product in the back and really didn't know what it was, so we asked him to get rid of it. And about a week later, Sam calls and says, "Hey, by the way, I'm going to run by and pick up my quail." Well, Terrell Copeland, I guess he
saw something in the freezer.
And didn't like it and got rid of it. And we're like, "Hey, Terrell, go back there and get Sam's quail." And when it's kind of a sobering thing when your assistant comes up and says, "Hey, I think I threw Sam's quail away." So anyway, it's
turned out okay. Terrell's still here. I saw him a few weeks ago.
Thankfully, there's still more quail, and he went back hunting and probably had fun replenishing his freezer. But yeah, it was a little unnerving at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Sam was really competitive, asked a lot of questions, and we're here today because of that. Well, tell me about moving over to Walmart and Supercenters. Early on, when we first met, we were in store number 54. Which right. I don't remember which Supercenter it was, but it was low on the list, one of the first ones we opened.
I think it was around 10 or 11.
10 or 11?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was one of the first ones. Back then it was it was such a big deal. You know, there was no Supercenters around, so gosh, we had celebrities in them. I can remember Jerry Rice, Joe Montana coming and signing autographs on weekends, and people would drive all the way from Kansas City just to see a Supercenter because there wasn't hardly any of them around. You forget that because now they're everywhere.
I learned a lot at that store, and I learned a lot of things at the store I still think about today, use today. But if you were going to try to think about how many people have worked on your team that have been promoted out of it,
Lordy.
How many would it be? Probably hundreds at the least, maybe more.
Hundreds, I would say.
Hundreds. And so you've got a reputation, Kelly, around the company for not only being a great store manager, but for training people, developing people, and they leave you successful. So what is it that you've found that has inspired you, motivated you to give so many people what you've learned in the 40 years working at Walmart and in retail?
I don't think there's anything magical, John, about what I do and what most store managers out there do. It's I think we just try to look at people and figure out what they like, be good listeners, just providing the opportunity for people so that when they can and want to make those decisions, I think Walmart's always been a great choice. Yeah, and it just seems to work out.
Well, when you're doing something that you enjoy, that you find challenging, that's inspiring, and you get paid for it all at the same time, it tends to work out okay.
I think so.
That's right.
It's been great for my family and me, and
Yeah, mine too.
so yes, it's been great.
Okay, so Supercenters, how are they different now versus what they were when I was on your team almost 25 years ago?
It's well, when you came just recently.
Yeah, for those that don't know the story, I about a week before I started the job, I walked in Kelly's store. I found in the back room and I said, Kelly, I've been out of the business now for 15, 16 years.
Right.
I got 4 hours. Can you catch me up?
Right.
That's about how we did it.
I can't remember exactly what I said, but it might take a hair more than 4 hours. If I look back over my 40 years, probably the last 5 has been the most exciting.
Yeah,
just
more
all the
change,
things that
lots of
we're
things
doing. I mean, who would have ever thought that I would be running a store that has an autonomous scrubber that goes up and down my aisles and scrubs my floors and fast unloaders. And I can remember having 6 or 7 people in my accounting office, and now I've got a money recycler that I can just stick money in, and it's caused us to be able to so much better serve the customer because we have all these functions and all these tools to help us repurpose people into positions that can serve the customer.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of new positions. You showed me not only the new structure with what we call the Great Workplace, but
Right.
club store pickup. I mean, how many people are out picking orders, dispensing orders?
That's crazy. I probably have 35, 37 people out there shopping up and down aisles for customers, and
Which is a lot more than we had in accounting and the other roles.
kind of takes us
transitioned in.
back. It's like full circle. When I first started, that's how I started. Was a carry-out person that would go out and put groceries in people's cars, and now I'm doing it again.
Well, last thing, this holiday season, what's been your favorite item? What's been selling so far?
There's several great food items. My VPI is the Sister Schubert dinner rolls. It's always a great item, and I always try to pick items that try to get a good lift. But my team's so competitive, I actually have to find some really good items that I can not embarrass myself because I don't look real good if you're the store manager and you got 250 VPIs and you're in 90th place or something. So you got to pick some
you
really
just have
good
to
items.
say it's in the top 100.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, for us, I tell you something it's a new line of product that's doing really, really well is our new sushi line.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great item in the stores. It's popular, and I haven't acquired a taste for it until the last 3 or 4 years, and now it's probably one of my favorite places to go.
Well, I lived in Fort Smith back in 82, 83. I didn't know what sushi was, nor did I think I'd like it. And then I lived in Asia for a few years. So if you want any advice,
sure.
I may be able to help you a bit.
I'm sure you probably need to come with me and order because I still haven't got it figured out.
We'll do that. We'll make it happen. Kelly, thanks. Thanks for
you.
spending time with us. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, John.